What's up, everybody? This is Nightwing2303 coming at you with another performance review. Today's review is going to be on the Nike Hyperize. So it's not the greatest shoe, but it's not the worst shoe either. The reason why I'm doing this review is because I was able to find these for $30 over at Ross. So I figured, hey, why not just buy them, check them out, see what they're all about. And you can still pick these up at online retailers, and I've even seen them at Nike outlets for about $79 or so. So you can probably pick them up even cheaper on eBay. So with that said, let's go ahead and get started with the review. So the bottom base here, the traction is almost the same exact look as the Nike Hyperdunk, the first version. The main difference is that they added traction into each groove, whereas before they were flat with a little dot on them, which gave you absolutely no traction whatsoever. So the traction on these is really nice. I love how they put traction on the outrigger here, something that was missing on the Zoom Hyperfuse. They also have a carbon fiber plate that's just like the Zoom Kobe 5, also something that was missing from the Hyperfuse. And these points here that you see with the little T-bar there and the one bar here, this is straight Phylon, so it does not really provide any traction, but it does help out with the maneuverability as far as getting up and down the court. So it makes it a little more flexible since this rubber outsole is pretty thick. As far as the midsole goes, you have your typical Phylon injection. It gives you pretty good cushion. You also have Zoom Air in the heel and Lunar Foam in the forefoot. The Hyperfuse didn't have anything except for Zoom Air in the toe box here, so having heel and forefoot cushioning is great. Even though Lunar Foam doesn't last forever, it's still something that is quite nice to have. I actually really like it, and it's definitely not a bad source of cushioning, but it just doesn't last forever. So the the midsole down is basically the best part of the shoe. The upper it has a lot of problems. Your flywire base here, it's slightly upgraded from something that you might see on the LeBron 7 post seasons. The first upgrade that they have is basically that there's some mesh vents on both sides of the shoe, so you get a little bit of extra breathability. Um, However, the rest of the shoe has zero breathability other than the perforated mesh tongue. So, I mean, there's some perforations right here, but it really doesn't do anything. And all of this is patent leather, so that's extremely unbreathable, and it also is a little bit hard to break it in. So these took a couple of games just to kind of get a little bit more malleable for my foot. So it took a few wears for these to be able to get somewhat comfortable. So the placement of the flywire is near perfect. It's right where you need it, nowhere where you don't. It wraps your foot much better and contains your foot much better than the 7 post seasons. So I do prefer this upper, comparing it to the postseason. And you have your fibers here that are attached to the eyelets. The ones that go diagonal this way, they help wrap your foot in this direction, and then the other ones help it wrap this direction. So you do get a pretty good lockdown fit from about here back. The heel cup here, it's definitely an upgrade from the original Hyperdunk. This is not a foam material. It is a like a thin, lightweight plastic. Um, so it's durable, and it also does its job by keeping your heel in place. You're going to see that the cut here is very similar to the Hyperdunk, and it provides zero support. So anybody that thinks that high top shoes are where it's at for ankle protection, it's not. These two eyelets here, you can see that the flywire fibers wrap all the way down into the heel area. So those two are what really keeps your heel in place when you have them laced up. this top eyelet actually does absolutely nothing, and you don't even really need to have it tied, which is kind of strange. So the cut of the shoe really could have ended right about here. You know, a little bit of extra material and things like that. Um, Inside of the shoe, there's one of those boot sock liner things. It's shaped exactly like the Hyperfuse, where it cuts way down deep, so it does not give you a great fit on the interior, and there's very little padding, if any, around the surrounding of the shoe, since most of this is that plastic flywire. So really only the padding that you're getting is really in the heel and in these little wing areas, and there's really no padding. You can see how thin that is right there. So my main complaint, which is the worst thing to put on a basketball sneaker, they did this with the 7 postseasons as well, is that they keep the eyelets so low to the toe box area that this is right where your foot bends. So anytime you bend your foot, it is actually loosening up the lockdown fit on your forefoot. If you look here, it's bowed up and everything because I have to tie these as tight as possible. Literally, when they're laced up, they're almost together, and that's to get the most lockdown out of the entire shoe, which it still doesn't provide 100%. Like I was saying, from here back, it's a pretty good lockdown fit. From here forward, it's really awful. My foot slides around in them quite a bit, and I've actually received numerous blisters since playing in these. So, you know, just want to give you guys a heads up on all of that. Now, real quick, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put both of these sneakers on. I really enjoy having an independent toe cap on my basketball shoes. I think it should be used more often. I know that it compromises the overall look of the sneaker, but we're talking about performance here, not looks. So I'm going to slap these two on real quick, try to kind of give you an idea as far as why the forefoot area in this shoe is so weak compared to something like this, and even compared to something like the Hyperfuse, where the lacing structure starts off further back. So hold on a second and I'll be right back. Okay, so I have both sneakers both on. They're tied up exactly the way that I would during a game. Laced all the way to the top eyelets, both pairs. And I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, but the spacing in between here and in between here, you can see how much thinner this one is. Hopefully you can see it. But I really got to tie these things up really tight in order for them to conform to my foot. So I'm going to try to move my foot around a little bit. So from here back, like I was saying, it's a good fit. For the toe though, when you bend your toe, all of this is popping up. I don't know if you can see it very well. So when you're you know, moving basically on the court, all of this right here is loosening up. Okay, this is not a good forefoot lockdown fit. All of this is compromised here. My forefoot slides around inside of the toe box area, which is not something that I prefer when I'm playing in a basketball shoe, especially being in a guard position where you're constantly changing positions and rolling around the court even without the ball. This right here is not a good look. It really hinders my ability to move without the ball and with the ball, no matter how tight I lace these up. And there's still room in here where I could tie them up even more, but it's still not going to do anything except for warp the shoe even further. Whereas with an independent toe cap, your laces, the laces start here on the Hyperize, which is way down here on the toe, and this one's good, at least a good 1.5 inches up the shoe, or up your forefoot area. So for one, that's a plus. So even if it doesn't have a toe cap on it, as long as your lacing system is up here, you're not going to be compromising the fit every time you flex your foot. The second thing is, when you are flexing your foot, there is no slack in the lacing system. It's not moving whatsoever. It's just the forefoot that's moving, which is great. Not only is this toe cap independent, but inside there's a lot of mesh, so it keeps it not only breathable but very flexible. So no matter what, my lockdown fit from here back is not compromised whatsoever. And with this one, the entire forefoot is compromised, which could potentially give you an
so hopefully you guys understood what I was trying to achieve by showing you the differences between a real lockdown fit and an independent toe cap versus something that you receive in the Hyperize here. I'm gonna compare these two shoes basically for, you know, they're almost within the same price range. So if I were to pick one, even though this has more cushioning, this one has a better fit. The frontal area, the laces, you could see how further back, how much further back they start, and so your forefoot lockdown is not compromised whatsoever, which is great. This really should not happen on a shoe when it's being made in 2010 and forward 2011. This should really be taken back up to this top eyelet in order to get some sort of fit on the toe. I would recommend this to somebody that does have a wide foot, just because this area here will be better off for you. You'll probably fit more into the shoe rather than someone like myself who has a more of a narrow type of foot. And also, if you don't have wide feet and you're a guard position, this didn't do the greatest job, since the toe box area is so loose, of allowing me to transition, cut, and move without the ball. So that's my review on the Nike Hyperize. I really hope you guys enjoy it. My next performance review will be for the Converse Star Player Evo. This is a sample pair. Okay, so these are not exactly like the ones that were released, but they're extremely comfortable and extremely lightweight. And the traction looks pretty decent. So I'm going to try these out for you. I'll put up the video probably in the next 3 to 4 weeks. I want to give myself enough time to play in them and give an appropriate review. So yeah, this is the Hyperize review. Hope you guys enjoy. Thank you for watching, for liking. Thank you to all my subscribers. I really appreciate everyone's support, and do whatever it is you guys do. If you guys like the Hyperize, then comment in the comment section. If you absolutely hated it, let me know in the comment section as well. And until the next video, I'll see you guys then. Later.